It's time to get you caught up with all things sports.
Yes! 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 Yes!
On the throw-in.
One thing is certain. None of this is possible without you, the listeners.
From baseball, football, wrestling, and more, covering local Cincinnati sports, stories, news, and highlights.
Why is he always calling me meat?
With your host, Justin Trento.
When it's all said and done, we're going to look back and remember this is what started it all.
Available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Let's play the ball! Let's play the ball!
Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday, February 20th of 2024. My name is Justin. Here's on. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. If you guys are watching us live, want to give you guys a big shout out. So comment down below, get your comments on the screen. You guys could also check out our Facebook page and Twitter, Twix, whatever you guys want to call it, as we are streaming live from there for the next 2 hours. And this week is kind of like a go-home week for a handful of sports. As we know, baseball season is among us. College baseball actually just wrapped up, or just started last weekend. Watched the doubleheader between Cincinnati and Jacksonville down there in Florida. And the Bearcats didn't do quite well. They fell short to both games, unfortunately, in that doubleheader. Weather prevailed in a sense of unable to continue, have their getaway day on Sunday. So they came 0-2 heading into earlier today. They had their home opener against NKU, and they held their own after winning 9-2 was the final score. And, that's going to be the, kind of the story talk of this season as we'll follow some Bearcats baseball. I'm expected hopefully to get out to a couple of games. I know I experienced a handful of games last season, a lot cheaper than going to the Reds. And it was just a fun atmosphere. When you get a chance to sit more so on the field level, like you're down there behind the dugout. And that's just what, I reminded myself why I loved minor league baseball so much, or college baseball, because you're up close to the action. You could actually hear the communications of who's talking and who's whatnot when you sit that close. Remember, my first time falling in love with just non-major league baseball was when I went out to Lake Elsinore. My uncle and my grandmother moved up there, and they got a trailer house. And the first thing we did, we'd go to Storms baseball all the time, the single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. And I'm like, we went out there, we drove out to Rancho Cucamonga. I got just a chance to watch a lot of baseball growing up. So that was kind of a fun atmosphere. And it was also fun because you got a chance to see the future of the Padres, right? If you guys live in Louisville or in Dayton or, in Chattanooga, I'd encourage you to go out there and watch some minor league baseball. Matter of fact, wherever you guys live, if there's baseball near you, go out and watch some baseball, because you just don't know these days when it comes down to, if you're watching a double A or a single A or a high A, low A baseball team, you just don't know what their, that next person that may come through that system that could be a star, whether it's for your current, supporting team or, someone else. And, I remember, I'm sure they don't quite remember, but I remember growing out to the Storms games, and I'd go sit down with, I got a chance to sit along the first base side, and I got to get a chance to, my uncle, was a big talker, and he talk it up to anybody, but about sports. But we go to a Storms game, probably like one of our first few games we attend, and we run into, I want to say it was Alex Dickerson's father. He was watching, his son's play. It was Lake Elsinore Storm single A. He was watching his son play, and we go up there, and we just start chatting baseball left and right. And you point out, yeah, my son's playing first base right now, and it's just a different level, different atmosphere. More, you kind of feel more involved into the game. You feel more connected. And I just love going out to Bearcats baseball. I was trying to maybe attend next week's matchup. Bearcats are heading over to Xavier on Wednesday, but the problem I have with that is it's supposed to rain, possibly snow, so I'm not really quite motivated to go. We'll have to see. There's a doubleheader back home on next Friday. I'd like to go to that one if everything seems perfect in the weather and whatnot. So we'll see. Can't wait to get out to my first Bearcats game. I'm gonna fight hard. The wife loves the Cincinnati Bearcats. She's been asking me when does the season start and when can we go out to our first game, and I'm excited to go out with her to our first game. So but yeah, college baseball just got underway, and now we're on another week where we can see, we're only counting now the days to opening day in major leagues. And we're counting down 37 days as of tonight until Major League's opening day. Now, this is a little false, because for those who have not been following baseball, just a FYI, the first official opening day will be March 20th, and that is, I want to say, March 20th is the Wednesday. I'm going to double check that. Because the Dodgers and the Padres will host their first official game of the season in Korea. So this is where I'm going to. I'm on the Major League Baseball app. Yes. So Wednesday, not Tuesday, not, while everyone else is still playing spring training games, the Dodgers and Padres will be at Go Check Gyeok Sky Dome in Korea. And I believe it's only one game. No, it will be two games. The Padres will host home field advantage. And then on Thursday, the Dodgers will return the favor as a home field advantage in the first two games of the season. So while we count down a week after that for the first game on the season, we will see two games prior to that get underway. So pretty exciting. They're going to be nighttime baseball. And, we're going to talk a lot about the Cincinnati Reds today or tonight. And I want to get ready for spring training as games officially begin this Saturday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Cincinnati Reds will take on the Cleveland Guardians. And I kind of want to put together a potential starting day lineup and just kind of want to mess with it. There's a couple of things I want to get to when it comes down to the Reds here this afternoon. So we'll talk some Reds, baseball here. We also got some football, still some more football conversations because I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I really just want to understand, um, you know, I want to understand this whole franchise tagging on T. Higgins quite more. I was thinking a lot earlier this weekend, and especially today, about franchise tagging. And there's a possibility, does he actually logistically make a good fit for the Bengals in the long run, or should we honestly pass on him? So I'm gonna dive into that conversation later, bit, a little bit tonight. But then also, we are on the final road to WrestleMania, the final stop, as we are just 46 days to WrestleMania 40. 2 more matches will be confirmed for WrestleMania 40 by Saturday morning. And if you guys are planning on watching Elimination Chamber, you guys have to wake up ungodly early. No sleeping in on the weekends, because Elimination Chamber will start at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's crazy. I think that's far-fetched. Waking up to some Elimination Chamber. 4 matches are on the card. We'll talk about those this evening. You have the women's and men's Elimination Chamber match. Both of their matches are basically number 1 contender matches to face the women's. You got the women's world championship, and then you got the world heavyweight championship for WrestleMania 40. And then you also see the women's world championship title match being, Rhea Ripley will defend her title against Nia Jax, as we see the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest will be defending their undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships against the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, this weekend. So coming up in hour number 1, we're going to do some heavy conversations, a little pre-predictions, because I don't know how my schedule is going to look like this week. I know if I don't do a show on Thursday, that is because I'd like to start off the year right, calling baseball games. And the Padres and Dodgers will kick spring training off this Thursday, February 22nd, in Peoria, and that's going to be available on ESPN. And so I would like to bring you that play-by-play broadcast from my end of the table on Thursday. So I'm talking with the wife about that. So if I do if I call the baseball game on Thursday, I'm not doing a show on Thursday. That would be the substitute. So if I don't, my next show will probably be Saturday, in which we'll be able to recap. I'm not waking up extremely early to talk about Elimination Chamber prior to that. So we'll be talking after Elimination Chamber concluded. And it'll probably just be a good day to sit down and have those conversations, getting ready for Reds baseball later that day, and to talk about, what the aftermath is expected to hold. So, that's kind of how the plan is expected to turn out. But I got this show lined up for you. We'll see where it takes us, see how far it goes. Not going to get too deep into it, but I'm going to provide you that we're going to kick things off here in our first segment coming up after break, talking about what happened on Friday night, and talking about the Rock and Roman Reigns appearing on SmackDown. Now, prior week, Paul Heyman walks into Nick Aldis's office and says that the Rock and Roman will be on SmackDown next week, which was last Friday. And even Nick Aldis has stated sometime on social media throughout the week that he's ready for The Rock and Roman on SmackDown. And I was a bit disappointed in the segment that they ended up cutting, because the Bloodline comes out, and all we really see is The Rock comes out, and he's promising Cody Rhodes that the loser will lose at WrestleMania, that he will be he will be assured of that. He will do everything in his power to make sure that person loses. A part of it clarifies that it was, that he's talking about Cody Rhodes. I think there's fans that are maybe speculating The Rock is maybe referring to Roman Reigns. But at least in the meantime, we will see, or we are seeing, a united Bloodline once more. And you have to, trying to find the best words for this, because now I think you have probably one of the best fractions that just got even better when you throw a name like The Rock involved into the story mix. So when we come back from break, our first break of the night, I want to kind of get deeper into what does this mean for the Bloodline. And, should this, and I'm speculating, could this possibly be, a long-term, a whole year run with how great of a feud that we could potentially see in the near future. So, all right, so that's what we're going to do when we kick off Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. We got baseball, wrestling, football, oh my, here on this Tuesday. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to press those notifications. And if you miss any of our episodes, I'd like to invite you over to our website. Visit www.tncsportstalkshow.com, where you can catch all the latest videos, audios, blogs, social media posts, whatever it is, you name it, it's on our website, www.tncsportstalkshow.com. All right, take the first time out of the program. Come on back. We'll have a lot more coming to you. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. The Throne wants to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can create videos, host videos, virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Excuse me. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. All right. So where were we? We're just getting underway with some wrestling conversations. The Rock is officially a part of the Bloodline as he joins Roman Reigns, at least for now. And this is a scary, scary faction right now in the WWE. This is not just a storyline. This is a family storyline that is being presented. And, you know, I think you get mixed feelings between if this is to last, you know, until WrestleMania, or this is extended pretty far after WrestleMania. We're only in year 3 of this Bloodline family. And we really haven't, you know, showcased a lot of the past. We're focused on the future. And there's still a lot of family talent that's out there that we haven't even seen yet. You know, we've only seen the Usos. We've only seen Solo Sikoa. And if if this Bloodline, this family wanted to, they could tell this story for the next decade and it still be relevant. When we talk about relevancy, I got to be honest with you. I felt a bit of last year that the Bloodline fell off of the relevancy table. You know, they ran into WrestleMania probably being one of the biggest, you know, things to hit, you know, top stories. And then they kind of eased off. They had the family feud, the Civil War, right? The battle among the family. And then they kind of died off for a bit towards the end of the year, where Jey Uso branded off to Raw to try to have a singles career. And Roman is trying to keep a short leash on Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Now The Rock's involved, and instead of us seeing The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, we're seeing a united family joining forces at WrestleMania. And why not? Because I feel like The Rock brings relevancy back to the Bloodline. If whatever they lost, they brought it right back because of Rock's name. You know, we could talk about how or what, you know, how this all transpired. And I believe that we were waiting on The Rock to give the go, no go clearance of if he was going to be at WrestleMania. And that went past the Royal Rumble. Therefore, the WWE was forced to go with option A, and that was Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Sometime after that, and listen, we may never know exactly how this is, you know, went down, or where, you know, what took place over the last several weeks, but I'm trying to put the pieces together because it felt like somewhere post Rumble, immediately within less than a week, we see Cody Rhodes step aside to see The Rock return. And then within a week later from that, probably because of the fans' reactions, the WWE went back to the Cody Rhodes plan, forcing The Rock to step aside for the storyline to finish. So we really don't, you know, and like, you know, this is all just, hey, 1 week is in, 1 week is out, but it's all great creating good content, is it not? So my question is to you, does this bloodline need to, transform during WrestleMania where we see The Rock and turn on Roman? The way that I'm seeing it, looking at it, I want to see a tag team match. I don't feel comfortable putting The Rock in his first match back in a singles competition. So I would like to see The Rock and Roman team up against Cody and possibly Seth Rollins. My concern with that is that Seth Rollins is still recovering from a knee injury that he probably should have had surgery and vacated that title. But now he's going into WrestleMania as your World Heavyweight champion and having to defend it against whoever wins the Elimination Chamber this Saturday. So I'm curious in seeing how this just unfolds. But why just keep this storyline short? I wouldn't mind seeing a domination duo factor between Roman and The Rock beyond WrestleMania, maybe carry out throughout the course of the year. But doesn't that mean Cody Rhodes has to lose then? If Cody Rhodes is set to finish his story at WrestleMania this year, then I think we're bound to see The Rock possibly turn on Roman. That can then set up a WrestleMania match next year. Because The Rock and Roman, let me tell you this. The story is already painted out there for you. You don't need to say any more. Just announce The Rock and Roman at one of the premium live events, and you're going to draw a crowd. I don't believe this dynamic duo. You have Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, who is technically right now at the head of the table, which therefore I think he is above The Rock. And then you have Dwayne Johnson, who has teased about sitting at the head of the table. Well, guess what, you guys? You can't have two people sit at the head of the table. Right? Can you? I don't think so. Therefore, ultimately, at some point, whether this is heading into WrestleMania, whether this is, something that they carry out for the year, The Rock, Roman has to find out who is going to sit at the head of the table, which ultimately leads into a match. Okay? And then that's what I'm looking for, is at the end of the day, we're going to see a match. But as of right now, anyone who's wanting to cross paths, you better watch out for it, because the bloodline seems serious, because both Solo Sikoa cost Cody Rhodes his singles match on Monday after he ended up losing as Cody Rhodes fell short thanks to Solo Sikoa against Drew McIntyre to open up Raw. And then Jey Uso lost his title match that he had against Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship from Jimmy Uso. So whatever is happening, whatever is, the WWE, whatever's happening going on, you have a dominating bloodline that has reestablished themselves, that has reestablished their dominance, not just on SmackDown, but on WWE alone, which is I think it's a great thing. Like I said, I don't believe that the Bloodline story is something that should end anytime soon. And if you play your cards right, you can see this is just more than just your typical storyline. It's a family business, and now we see it more with The Rock owning part of TKO, and moving forward, he owns part, a good amount of the shareholders. So I don't know. The Rock officially joining Roman Reigns in the Bloodline. Good for business, but a change of dynamic of scenery in the WWE. All right, let's take a break, and when we come on back, we will talk about Elimination Chamber, just in case I don't get a chance to get to that here later on this week. You guys are listening to The Throne on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, welcome back here. Bottom half of hour number one, getting under your way. We're going to talk a lot only about Elimination Chamber, which is coming up here this Saturday morning. because there's a couple of things going on. There are 4 matches scheduled on the card, but I want to get deeper into a little bit more into the details that it holds. Because Elimination Chamber, okay, is going to be held at the Optus Stadium in Birchwood, Western Australia. From my knowledge, this is the first time WWE has been to Australia. But that will be dated this Saturday. Let's see what time it's supposed to start. Okay. All right. So start times, dates. Here's everything we need to know. Let's let it pop up here. All right, come on. This is not giving me what I want. This is why we came back a little early. All right. So Elimination Chamber. The main card starts at 9 p.m. local time or 5 a.m. Eastern time. Okay. U.S., Canada on Saturday, 4 a.m. Eastern is the pre-show start. 5 a.m. main card. So not 6, but 5. Which is crazy. Okay. Pacific is 2 a.m. UK and Ireland is 10 a.m. GMT. And Australia is 9 a.m. AEDT. That's what I'm seeing here. It's available on Peacock in the United States, WWE Network in Canada and United Kingdom, and Foxtel, KO, and Binge in Australia. So that's your show details. I'm excited because this is the final road before WrestleMania. And I think what worries me is that there's only 2 matches confirmed for WrestleMania so far. I think we saw a little bit on Monday with the possibility of Jay and Jimmy having a WrestleMania match. And then 2 more matches are set to confirm this Saturday because the winners of the men's and women's Elimination Chamber match will go on and punch their ticket to WrestleMania. But I still think, I'm looking at this post Elimination Chamber. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. All right. So I got 6 weeks. If you times 2, so that's 12 shows after this week. Well, maybe 11 shows that you have to get a WrestleMania night 1 and night 2. And I don't know. Maybe the WWE is going to have 5 matches on a card. I just know that WrestleMania is notorious for showcasing all of their talent. Like, this is that Super Bowl. If you're healthy and if you've had any impact in WWE over the last 3-4 months, you're on the WrestleMania card some way, shape, or form. And I get a bit nervous because I don't want the WWE just to throw out a feud and say, you're going to enjoy this match. I want these feuds to have a meaning, to build a story over the couple weeks to really captivate my attention on giving me a reason why to tune in to WrestleMania. And I'm not, we only know 2 matches have been confirmed. We could possibly assume another, maybe 2 more matches. We know 2 more matches after that, so 6 matches. But I just think of it. I'm just like, there's a lot of talent out there, and it doesn't seem like they're making progress yet, and their time frame is running down. Now, from my standpoint, I think of when I think of the road to WrestleMania, I think of, matches being created from the Rumble to Mania, and then with the pay-per-view in between. But let's talk about the Elimination Chamber this year. Kick things off with the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. The champions, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, Sir Mr. Money in the Bank, will take on and defend their titles against New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. We saw DIY a few weeks ago face the Judgment Day and they lost. New Catch Republic defeated DIY, I think it was like a week or two ago on SmackDown. And I think this is an opportunity for Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. You know what? And I love that the WWE is growing in the tag team division. I'm just interested in seeing how much further does the Judgment Day go. I really, you think about any faction that you can be confused about, and I'm confused about where the Judgment Day is headed. You got Damian Priest, who is trying to keep the Judgment Day together. He is trying to convince everyone that there's not an issue, that they're dominant. You're convincing, you got Finn Balor, I feel sometimes is lost in the shuffle. Dominic Mysterio, I don't know what he's doing. He's just looking to cause trouble everywhere he goes. JD McDonough, who just seems to be in that odd man out, that he's walking in front of the pack as if he's running the pack, but realistically not. He does not. And then, Rhea Ripley is doing her own thing as the women's world champion. And ultimately, I see Rhea Ripley headlining WrestleMania. I see Damian Priest playing a critical role. But then I don't know if I see, you don't have, I was looking at the match card. You don't even have, you don't have, there's no Damian, there's no, Dominic Mysterio, yet. JD McDonough's not, there, not doing anything for WrestleMania. Finn Balor has nothing for WrestleMania. None of the Judgment Day is part of the Elimination Chamber this Saturday. So what is the WWE? So what is the Judgment Day doing? And kind of a pre-WrestleMania spoiler, I think. They've been building up with R-Truth and The Miz here lately. I can see R-Truth and The Miz taking on Damian and Finn at WrestleMania Night 1 to lose the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. I'm thinking the Judgment Day is going to probably prevail. Here's also another interesting note. I'm wondering if it's time, and maybe it's not, but I'm wondering if it's time to see another tag team championship created for SmackDown brand only. This is the last title, I think, that has not been split. So I'm intrigued to see how, if they approach it. I don't think it's a big deal, but if so, I wouldn't mind but seeing DIY take on New Catch Republic to determine that new championship at WrestleMania, which I think would probably be a good idea, but that's just my opinion. But I got Judgment Day retaining strong. It's going to be a tough battle. I would honestly be surprised. I wouldn't. I would be more on the surprise end if Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate become new tag team champions. Could happen. Next match on the card, we have the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley is defending her title against Nia Jax. Right now, as of late, it's kind of been this three-way Becky Lynch, Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley. I just, Rhea Ripley's performing in a hometown or her home crowd to say. And I'm I don't see the title changing hands. I don't know. There's just something about Nia Jax that I am not. Ever since she made her return, there's just something about her that just is like, she feels like she's just getting in the way. And I know that's probably bad to say about an athlete, but it's true. She came back and she's had a small feud with Becky Lynch. She's kind of been that thorn in the side over the last couple weeks, wanting this women's world championship match. And I just, she fits, I think, in this storyline or in this feud. But I don't see anyone getting behind her, and I don't really see her as prevailing any further than where she is now. I don't see her winning on Saturday. It doesn't make sense. I think Rhea's going to WrestleMania with that championship. Whether she keeps it, I don't know. My next question would be, is this going to be a singles match or is this going to be a triple threat match? Because, I could see possibly Nia Jax making her way back into the title picture. But I got Rhea Ripley winning. All right. Now we are entering the first Elimination Chamber match that I'm talking about, which is it's an Elimination Chamber match for the Women's World Championship match at WrestleMania 40. You got Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and the return of Raquel Rodriguez. Can we just take a moment and acknowledge the return of Raquel Rodriguez? She disappeared from the WWE back in the fall last year because she was dealing with some skin issues. We talked about this on the show before. I don't remember the term that she used, but she made her return last night on Raw in the Women's Battle Royal to determine the final spot, and she outlasted all the other women. And I just think this is a great thing for her. All these competitors, I think, bring a lot to the table. A little surprised that Tiffany Stratton is in there. But we keep an eye on two people, I think, or a few people. Liv Morgan is trying to get back into a WrestleMania match with Rhea, and this time with Rhea Ripley. With their feud hopefully resparking, you got Becky Lynch, who is saying, "Oh, I must have a WrestleMania match herself." Bianca Belair, Naomi, who returned back at the Rumble, doesn't have a WrestleMania match either. So you'll look at these 6 elite women, and one of them's going to ticket their way into WrestleMania. And then I ask myself, where does these other 5 women are placed? I wouldn't mind seeing Liv and Raquel tag team. Bianca and Naomi is also possibly a good feud down the road. These are all just, thoughts that I'm looking on the top of my head that could potentially be WrestleMania matches. But I think Becky Lynch is the one to walk away. I think the storyline makes sense between Becky and Rhea Ripley. I think they worked pretty hard building it, and I think if you work this hard and it's taken away from her, and I don't see this, I don't see the WWE going against that, then why would you, why would you, erase everything that you worked so hard doing? Elimination Chamber for the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. This who will probably be facing Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. We see Drew McIntyre taking on Randy Orton, taking on Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul. And I could tell you this. Bobby Lashley in this match does not make sense whatsoever, as you see Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, in the feud with Karrion Kross and AOP. And if you ask me, that's a 6-man tag match at Mania, but going forward into this match, he just doesn't make sense for me. This is the face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. LA Knight doesn't make sense. He's been in the title picture the last couple of months. Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, they just had a Rumble feud. I get it. But you talk, like I talked about this, I think last week. You talk about people who make sense when it comes down to who can you actually see. And there's only 2 people on that chart that honestly, catches my eye. Now we see Cody Rhodes coming over to SmackDown, to challenge Roman Reigns. Why don't we see Randy Orton? I mean, as I mentioned, he's a good candidate. He's had a feud with Seth Rollins before. I think he works pretty safe. We also I question how much longer does he have in that ring, and he may not. He just may not be here next year. So where is his WrestleMania moment? And then, with all that put together, there's a case that I have for Randy Orton. Logan Paul, yeah, he's had a few last year. He already holds that United States Championship. I don't see a reason why he's going to be off doing his own thing at Mania. So I don't see a need for him to win. But then Drew McIntyre, like I said, his contract has yet to be confirmed what his contract status is with the WWE. From my understanding, they are in conversations about a future contract extension. He's probably one of the hottest heels in the WWE today, minus Roman and The Rock. And he's been pushed really hard. You think about potential work with him for Mania. You have him versus Seth, who's had one heck of a feud in the past. Then, you talk about, well, what's beyond that? Well, you got, Damian Priest in the hindsight with the Money in the Bank briefcase. That moment could be taken away from him as soon as he wins. See, and this was a conversation I had with Steve Barber with over that Armchair Booking Wrestling podcast last month, and we did discuss. One of my biggest things was, well, why are you going to have? Could you possibly see someone whose contract is about to expire post WrestleMania? Could you see them have a main event spot for a championship at Mania? And he was like, no, it's not going to happen, because why give someone who's about to walk out that spotlight? I mean, Drew was actually his contract was supposed to end before Mania, but because he was out with injury, WWE contract works as well. Well, now you just make up the time at the end. So that brings him out past WrestleMania up until April. I would like to see Drew McIntyre. I think that's the only concern that I have. If the WWE sticks with that, then I see someone like Randy Orton having that moment. But then there's been also conversations of a, Randy and Cena match at Mania, which, be interesting. But Drew McIntyre is the only person this Elimination Chamber match. So I'm going to go on a limb and have Drew winning the men's Elimination Chamber match. Becky wins the women's Elimination Chamber match. Both the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley retain their championships at this Saturday's Elimination Chamber. Hour number 1 has concluded. Let's transition into some baseball and football conversations, all coming to you next as hour number 2 gets underway. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, hour number 2 here is given to you thanks to Spreaker from iHeartRadio. It's not just a podcasting platform to listen to. You could also download your podcast, distribute all across all major platforms, view analytics, and even monetize your podcast. For more details, check out Spreaker.com. Be sure to download every episode of The Throw-In on Spreaker while you're at it. Much appreciated. All right, hour number 2 here, transitioning into some different sports. You want to give a shout out to Jordan Buchel, who had his first win with the Cincinnati Bearcats earlier today. Watched the game as they beat NKU, final score of 10-2, and first home game of the Big 12 conference. I know that basketball has struggled throughout the course of their season. Football has definitely struggled, and we just hope that baseball has a little different story as they advance in a different conference this season. So their schedule is going to be looking pretty solid. I mean, it's going to be exciting because they'll be playing some really good teams in this new conference. But the Bearcats, it's going to be fun to watch them this year as they get as their season just begins and their home opener is away. They will be on the road this weekend, and then they will be headed to Xavier next Wednesday, if weather permits it, and then they will be home next weekend. 4-game series. They have a doubleheader on Friday. They play Saturday and then Sunday to wrap up the series. So if you're looking to head out to some early baseball action, let's say you can't get out to Arizona, to watch the Reds, or can't head out to Florida to watch some Grapefruit League action, be sure to support your Musketeers and Bearcats baseball as their season just began. It was also very nice weather out there, as it's been in the mid 50s throughout this week. Tomorrow's supposed to be jump up into the 60s before rain on Thursday, if we still get that on Thursday. All right, so I'm just curious, okay, as we look at, I was looking at this earlier today, and the question is, how are the Bengals going to approach this idea of franchise tagging T. Higgins? According to, before we get into that, I want to just kind of update everybody. 2 adults charged with murder in a deadly shooting at Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl rally. This was a couple weeks ago when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They had the parade. A couple of juveniles ended up, I guess people were shooting. There was a shooting incident that ended up killing one. An article posted earlier today from Kansas City. 2 men have been charged with murder in last week's shooting that killed 1 person and injured 22 others after the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade, Missouri prosecutor said on Tuesday. Dominic Miller and Lyndall Mays are charged with second-degree murder on other counts. They have been hospitalized since the shooting. Jackson County prosecutor Gene Peters Baker said in a news conference. Officials declined to answer whether the men were being treated for gunshot wounds or other injuries. Court records lay out the basic view of how the shooting unfolded. Not going to get into the details of this here. Just wanted to give you the opening paragraph or 2 of what the article says. You can find it on NFL.com. It was posted earlier today on the web page. It's kind of the headline news, so you can't really quite miss it. So I recommend you checking out, but good, justice to be served. But let's talk about some Cincinnati Bengals football here. Franchise tagging T. Higgins, yay or nay? And I was thinking about this. So I was reading into it. If you franchise tag T. Higgins, you're going to be paying him about $20+ million this year. And then he officially hits free agent next year. If you And then you have this $60 million cap space to work with. So the bigger question is, are you willing to pay a third of your cap space for one player? So this is what I was putting together this earlier today. Let me just show you what my thought process was. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. If you franchise tag T. Higgins, which ideally looks possible, one, you take a big franchise cut for this year, which means that more than likely you're not pitching in and buying another free agent receiver. And you're really not getting anyone big because they're going to want 10, 20, 15, 15, 20 million dollars on their deal. You're only getting T. Higgins for one season at $20 million. But you keep the duo, 2/3 of this trio formation from last year, intact. So Jamar Chase, now what you can do is go into your draft and focus in on, all right, what receivers am I looking for? The concern is with that is when you do franchise tag Higgins, you played that card pretty clearly. Therefore, other teams are going to notice and say, oh, the Bengals are probably desperate for a draft receiver. Maybe I can spoil their pick by picking up a receiver ourselves. The other thing is that if you don't get the receiver you're looking for, you could always grow from within. Now, who is available to grow within? That is yet to be determined, but I think that third slot is open. But I'd rather take 2 instead of 1 in this scenario. If you don't franchise tag T. Higgins, you let him walk. Maybe you make another deal with T. Higgins. First of all, T. Higgins is going to want almost the same amount. So it's a lose-lose, right? You get another year, you bank on it. You say, all right, well, if we don't win this year, we're out $20 million. But then if you think of any other free agent receivers at this point, they'd be ridiculous not to ask for $20 million on the market. And realistically, you think of, I was looking at the list earlier. I was like, Mike Evans still to me fits as one of the better receivers, but he's looking at number 1, and that number 1 spot belongs to Jamar Chase. So is there another free agent receiver that is as good as T. Higgins that wants less money and can fill in the number 2 slot? And if you don't franchise tag T. Higgins and you let him walk and you could pick up a free agent receiver, even if you do, you still have to find that third spot. And all you're doing is you're signing this receiver to possibly a 1-year deal, which then you start the entire process all over again. When if you could keep Higgins, pick up a receiver in the draft, work on that receiver and work on the other ones you have to fill in that third spot and possibly even replace Higgins, then I think you're in a much better position. Either way, I think you're losing out on a salary cap space. And let's not forget this idea that Jamar Chase is going to be getting a contract extension. And I'm just like, well, I don't know how the Bengals are going to do it. I feel like the Bengals don't have a choice, that they have to come in and, they're going to have to offer Jamar Chase a contract extension. And I think they would, but you understand that this is going to be an uncrazy amount of money that they're asking for. And then on top of that, they're going to need to probably franchise tag T. Higgins for this, matter to keep at least 2/3 so that you could maybe bypass another year and pick up pick up a receiver in the draft and hope for the best next season. And you just hope that you're good enough to win. I'm hearing that the Bengals fans and the station, I don't like to be the Debbie Downer, but come on, you guys. Let's speak real terms here. I want the Bengals to win the Super Bowl this year. Just like any other year in the NFL. I want the Bengals to win the division, go and be the number 1 seed, host the AFC Championship, win that, go to the Super Bowl and win that. Better yet, have the Super Bowl at Paycor Stadium and win it. But if you talking truth of the matter is that we're not the only team in the NFL. We're not the best team in the NFL. And, I'm worried that our window is collapsing, is shutting on us. Everyone points to Joe Burrow. When he's healthy, he's the unbeatable team. Yeah, sure. Okay, I get that. I'm not decrediting what Joe Burrow alone could do, but I don't believe that Joe Burrow can single-handedly bring a team to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Not without a solid defense. Okay, and we've seen that through this past year with the 49ers and the Chiefs. The reason why these two teams made it as far as the Super Bowl is because their defense prevailed. They stepped up. 49ers was not supposed to beat the Detroit Lions, especially with how Brock Purdy played. And the only reason why the 49ers held into the Super Bowl as long as they did and they took it to overtime was because of their defense. It was just the Kansas City Chiefs defense was a bit out, they were even just as tired as San Francisco. It was just, then it was Patrick Mahomes capable of doing what Patrick Mahomes does. And they had a little bit better, more consistency in the second half with their offense. But we know if a team wants to go to the Super Bowl, you need a solid defense. Does the Bengals have that? Second, do you have the quarterback? Check. Third, receivers behind the quarterback, running back behind the quarterback. Check. Then it's the offensive line. I just don't know if, I just know that Joe Burrow is unable to carry an entire team to the Super Bowl and win it off his back. Therefore, I wish people in Cincinnati will stop talking that this is a Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow only team like we're in love with him. Okay, Joe Burrow has yet proven, although he could beat Patrick Mahomes, great. I applaud you. Congratulations. That's all he can do. He has not proven to me that he is better than anyone else to win the Super Bowl until he puts, here's the difference at the end of the day. I used to call out and say Phillip Rivers was one hell of a quarterback. Well, he wasn't the greatest quarterback. There's very few Hall of Famer quarterbacks that has not won a Super Bowl. Okay, Phillip Rivers never went to the Super Bowl. He's a good quarterback, but when you start talking about among the greatest, you start comparing oranges to apples among these quarterbacks. You have to understand. I'm going to ask each and every time, did you win a Super Bowl? Then 2, how many? Who did you beat? Joe Burrow could dominate Patrick Mahomes every single time. But until Joe Burrow could get to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, and like I said, though, that window's creeping down. If you're going to put all your blue chips into Jamar Chase, into, Joe Burrow, you're going to leave yourself without anyone else in the, that you could sign to a long-term team, longevity. Then it's just not a 1-2 punch anymore. Not a 1-2 punch. I think you start off here by, like I said, picking up a franchise tag, and I don't feel like you have much of another choice but pick up a franchise tag on T. Higgins, go for the draft, try to get a receiver somewhere along the line that you give him a chance. And that's it. I mean, as much as I don't like the idea, if you're asking me, I'll let T. Higgins walk, but I feel like you don't have a choice then to eat up. But you have to consider that you're eating up $20 million of what you have available in the salary cap just to please Higgins. Let's take a break, talk some baseball here as spring training continues. You guys are listening to The Throne on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
You are now in the presence of a king.
Alrighty, I gotta say that we have made it to the part of the program where conversations have got a little bit more intriguing, a little bit more fun to talk about. And that is because baseball season's here. This Thursday, the Dodgers and Padres in Peoria, that's available at 3 o'clock on ESPN. I would, if you guys are listening, tune in to our website at www.tncsportstalkshow.com. I shall let you guys know by tomorrow on the webpage if we're calling the Dodgers and Padres game. Bit nervous, if I would say so, about calling a game like that, first game of spring training. Not really expected to see a whole lot of first starters, but then you also have a lot of substitutions in between. So, that's going to be pretty interesting if I do, but I'm excited because it's spring training. I like to get out there and call some games this year. Like I do every year, always have a blast doing it, and can't wait to get back out there. But the Cincinnati Reds first spring training game is being held this Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Unfortunately, I don't have Bally Sports. I don't have all the cable networks to be able to watch the Cincinnati Reds. I would like to, but it's okay because I don't mind listening to them on the radio, and that's what I'm intended to do if they are on the radio. One of the things that I am kind of looking into here right now is how the Cincinnati Reds are being put together this year. I'm going to kind of just run through quickly the depth chart on the 40-man roster. And then we can go over also non-rosters that's coming in. But let me just kind of run through that list on the depth chart, a part of the 40-man roster. You got in the rotation, you got Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, Frankie Montas, Andrew Abbott, Brandon Williamson, Connor Phillips, Nick Martinez. Out of the bullpen, Alexis Diaz, Lucas Sims, Buck Farmer, Ian Gibbott, Emilio Pagan, TJ Antone, Sam Maul, Alex Young, Fernando Cruz, Brent Sutter. Catchers, you got Tyler Stevenson, Luke Malley. First base depth chart, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Jameer Candelario, Spencer Steer. Second baseman is Jonathan India, Matt McClain, Spencer Steer. Third base is Jameer Candelario, Noel Marte, Ellie Dela Cruz, Spencer Steer. Shortstop is Ellie Dela Cruz, Matt McClain, Noel Marte. Left field, Spencer Steer, Jake Fraley, Stuart Fairchild, Will Benson, TJ Friedel. Center field is TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley, Will Benson. Right field is Will Benson, Jake Fraley. Designated hitter, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Jake Fraley, Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India. Over there on the non-invitees, as we can see, we got Julian Aguilar, Justin Brule, Tyler Gilbert, Jacob Heatherly, Brooks Krisk, Brett Lauder, Zach Maxwell, Chase Petty, Revere San Martin, Tony Santillan. Catchers, you got PJ Higgins, Matt Nelson, Michael Trotwine, Daniel Volion, Austin Wines. And I want to apologize if I'm butchering names. Infielders, you got Edwin Arroyo, Tyler Callahan, Eric Gonzalez, Josh Harrison, Mark Mathis. Outfielders, you got Connor Capel and Blake Dunn. So I mentioned last week to you guys how I just don't quite understand with ball players and how they approach the off season, because, I understand that ball players can go and perform in a fall league. They can go to the Dominican Republic and stay active. And it's almost as it's expected to stay active, in order to stay in physical condition. But then they wind up going to spring training, and then you unravel a whole bunch of issues with them. That is kind of like, well, what have you done during the off season? How did you get hurt? How come you haven't attempted to take a look at this? I mean, and I know, listen, there has to be a better system if that's the case. I understand there's a period during the offseason where there's no contact between players. But I was mentioning down here, it's, Emilio Pagan misses the start of the spring training offseason as he, as he's dealing with the hernia, an off-season sports hernia surgery. And so I think that's vouchable. That's understandable. Alex Young sidelined with the back tightness. Noelvi Marte, delay in spring due to a grade 2 hamstring. And I'm just like, now it's like I just saw the reports of Matt McClain with his oblique strain. That's day to day. I mean, this ball club has expectations. They want to get back to the postseason. They want to get to the postseason. They were so close last year and they want to get to that spot. And I'm like, you just can't start off with injuries. I mean, we're not the Dodgers. We don't have unlimited resources and income. And it's like, if you don't take care of yourself, if you know that you're headed in to the season and you're supposed to be a starter, you have a lot to prove, then bubble wrap yourself throughout the off season. I don't get it. I seriously don't. But let's just say everyone is healthy. Okay. I kind of want to address position by position. Okay. So, first thing comes off my mind is that there's been reports that Tyler Stevenson wants to be an everyday catcher. And, I was supportive on the idea that he could be a first baseman, do some catching, and DH. I was worried about his health behind the plate because it takes a lot. But I'm, in other words, I'm okay with seeing Stevenson, if he's focused just solely behind the plate, we could work out the rest of the kinks. I look through this roster, position by position. I'm going to get back to first base. Jonathan India signed that $8 million deal for 2 years. Now, it's going to do one of two things. Okay. Hopefully, that Jonathan India doesn't have any concerns playing for the next 2 years. But see, my biggest point is that I think you need to use him on the field. Jonathan India's best position is second base. Now, this is where things kind of get dicey for me. Okay. So at third base, you're looking, there's no other position right now in the depth charts with Jonathan India other than designated hitter. If I'm somebody like, if I'm David Bell, if I'm Nick Kroll, in my meetings, I'm saying Jonathan India needs to be out there each and every day. Whether he's a DH or he's playing, and I prefer him playing, because this is what it's going to do is that we're going to see where he stands at during the trade deadline. And this is going to now put a tag on him and a price marker if we need to go out and trade him. What's good for India is bad if he's not a defensive asset. Okay? So you want to utilize, and he's really good at second base. So I understand, and if not, if you don't trade him by the deadline, you could trade him during the offseason. You have 2 years, to figure that out. So I would like to see India play second base as much as possible. I heard a little report that Matt McClain can do a lot of second base work. And you know what? I can see Matt McClain doing some work. But Matt McClain, I feel like he is a utility player. Yeah, I see him on the depth charts on second and at short. But then I mean, I know he plays a little bit of outfield, and that may have to come to use at some point this season. I know he also plays third base. The other concept I was thinking of for the use of Jonathan India, which I know he's established at second base, but I feel like this also works, is play him at third base. Yes, I know Noel V. Marte. If you're going to use Matt McLean at second, right now I'm looking at two options. Christian Encarnacion Strand, which I don't think we saw at all last year, only in September. He's supposed to be getting all your starts at first base. You also got Spencer Steer, Jameer Candelario as backups. Noel V. Marte, who got brought up in the middle of August, is also looking to be your everyday third baseman. So my theory is if whoever you're starting at first or third, Noel V. Marte, Christian Encarnacion Strand, use Jameer Candelario and one of the other options. We're paying Jameer Candelario, $16 million a year not to come off the bench. And we sure know that he's not a designated hitter spot solution. So as Christian Encarnacion Strand continues to work and progress, so the same thing as Noel V. Marte, this is where Candelario steps in. Ellie De La Cruz is your shortstop, but I see, like I said, Matt McLean working better off the bench at least the first few months on the season. I'm putting together my own 2024 Cincinnati Reds team. Doesn't look so identical as this is what we're seeing now, but I'm utilizing India at second the best as much as possible, and I'm also using McLean as a utility guy because he can play. He's versatile. Spencer Steer right now is getting the look at left field, which I just, it was going to happen. I think it just caught me off guard. But then you got Jake Fraley in center field and Will Benson in right, which leaves to me our four designated hitter spots. Jake Fraley, who's a left-handed hitter, the only left-handed hitter in this position. Christian Encarnacion Strand, Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India. With two catchers being up at the major league level, I think Tyler Stevenson's going to get 3 to 4 out of the 5 days behind the plate. On his days off, he will DH because I think he's too good of an at bat to keep out of that lineup. I think on a lefty-lefty scenario, you can keep Jake Fraley as a DH as well. I think he'd work. On a righty-righty scenario, it comes down to who's the better right fielder, Will Benson or Jake Fraley. And if you're asking me right now, Jake Fraley is the better right fielder, or at least the better outfielder. Is something we'll see more during spring training. I'd put Jake Fraley out there and then maybe throw India as a DH. There's a mixture of good and bad questions along this line of work. When you look at one of my biggest concerns on the field is Christian Encarnacion Strand at first base. I'm worried about the third base. You have Jameer Candelario. I'm expecting it, but I'm hearing reports that Noel V. Marte is the guy expected to be your everyday third baseman. And I question that because I'm worried about the experience level they have. And it's good to implement some we still have Ellie Dela Cruz. We still have Matt McLean. We still have Stuart Fairchild that hasn't played a whole lot. Spencer Steer needs some room to adjust to a new position, and TJ Friedel is getting more of a look this year. So we have a lot of young guys that have not had a whole lot of experience at the major league level. So I feel like this is when it's important that have that equal balance in that lineup with, Stevenson, Candelario, India, that could kind of keep down, Fraley, that could keep the fort down as this team adjusts, because I feel like we'll probably get off to a slow start. According to Major League Baseball, you can find this on the Major League Baseball with every team's projected opening day lineup. They're expecting Jonathan India to DH. They got Christian Encarnacion Strand at first, Matt McLean at second, Candelario at third, Deli Cruz at short. You got Steer in left, Friedel in right, Benson in right field. And there's just a few things I would change. I would change the right field to Fraley, in my opinion, but that's also a solid left-hander off the table. I will swap and I'll put Candelario or Stevenson at first while putting Marte at third. But they're also expecting a lot of day-to-day changes to this lineup. What they state is that the Reds plan to rotate up to 6 players among the 4 infield spots plus designated hitter. The Reds DH looks like this: Graham Ashcraft, Frankie Montas, Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green, and Nick Lodola. Only thing prevailing is injuries that trolled the Reds' rotation last year. Montas looks to have get back to his 2021 form where he made 32 starts with Oakland. But it looks intriguing. I'm not satisfied with the day-to-day lineup rotations. I think I've seen that a bit too far, a bit too much. And I don't think that's going to give you a championship. Yeah, it gives everyone playing time, but I don't think you see a division champion out of a day-to-day lineup. If David Bell has to put a daily, a lineup out there, the same lineup 5 days a week, you could alter the who's batting where, but it has to be the same guys. That's what I want to see coming out of David Bell's lineup here. It maybe not the first couple months, maybe not the first 2 or 3 months of the season, but still at some point. All right, let's take our final break, head and bottom of the hour. I'm going to share with you who are my best teams out of both AL and NL. That's still to come. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epic Demic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epicdemicsound.com. All right, like I mentioned here, pending on what the plan is for the remainder of the week, I know I'm going to get at least another show in at some point this weekend. But Thursday status of either I do a show or I broadcast the Padres Dodgers spring training game that will hopefully be announced later on tomorrow. You guys make sure you guys stay tuned and stay up to date by heading on over to our webpage at www.tncsportstalkshow.com where we update as much as possible everything that is going on. You know, full spring training practices here, and we see Reds already making headline waves as I guess Hunter Green was throwing to Ellie Dela Cruz and team practiced earlier today, and I guess Cruz hit a foul ball outside the stadium, and it ended up hitting Hunter Green's car. So almost instant karma there, but there's a picture of that taking place earlier today. But hopefully everything's all good, go for show. But I'm excited for spring training and what's all that is to come. We can talk all we want, blue in the face about who we think deserves to be there, in certain positions. But realistically, and I guess the only problem that I see here, and there was a reason why I'm bringing it to the table, in previous segment, talking about how, where I feel like it should be placed at, you're paying India $8 million a year. He needs to be playing second base. He needs to be in that everyday lineup. Like I said, if you're planning on trading him or whatnot, we're seeing like top news coming out of San Diego. I mean, look at apparently it's a bit of a controversy where Xander Bogaerts last year signed a contract extension with the Padres. He goes on this year, and the first day of spring training, or at least full camp practice, he's over at second base. And I was watching that interview. I don't know if you guys didn't take a look at Xander Bogaerts being questioned about his position change with the team. He didn't really seem too thrilled of that's what he was wanting to do. And, I was listening to Ben and Woods earlier this morning about those the conversations at hand. And it's like, well, if he's not at shortstop and Ha-Seong Kim's going to short because you want Ha-Seong Kim to get paid and whatnot, then where do you put Bogaerts? Because if you compare Bogaerts to Jake Cronenworth, Jake's a much better second baseman and compared to a first baseman. So, I think the Padres are trying to put together what is best at the time. And I think the Reds are trying to put together what is best at the time. And I think that, I like, you got Ellie Dela Cruz coming back. You got Matt McLean, who's playing your second base. If everyone stays healthy, I mean, David Bell has some tough decisions about who's playing who and when and where. I mean, yes, I understand that the ultimate goal is to get Noelvi Marte comfortable at third base, but is he an everyday player coming out of spring training at third base? Maybe he proves us otherwise. I know we threw Spencer Steer out there towards left field, but how well is he going to honestly adjust to left field compared to playing third or even first last year? And maybe that infield, and that's the same question that goes to Christian Encarnacion Strand. Maybe that infield needs a little bit extra help that Spencer Steer needs to contribute to. So, you may get, I wouldn't leave out the option of getting Candelario at third, Steer at first, Jonathan India at second, and then maybe throw in, Friedel in left or Fraley in left, and then McLean in center or Friedel in center, stuff like that. That's kind of where my head's at, but it looks like David Bell and Nick Kroll has different plans. All right, as we head into spring training, you guys, an interesting note to take a factor. I got a couple top favorite teams here heading into spring training, and we're talking about. I got picked out 3 teams to really keep an eye out here for both leagues. Let's kick off with the American League. The first team that I think that fans should keep a close eye out of success this year has to be the Houston Astros. And you may be like, well, they're a dominant team. They've already been in the playoffs. Why should we honestly continue to keep a look out for them throughout the course of the season? I'm like, because they don't have to do a whole lot, but they do enough to keep that threat approach. I think they answered one of the biggest questions heading into the offseason. Is what are they going to do to improve their bullpen? They add Josh Hader, and he becomes your instant closer, where Josh Hader allows your other guys to move on down the line and for scenario setups. Josh Hader is a valued piece that now, since he's in the back of your bullpen, you should be wondering, well, crap, I don't want to get to Josh Hader. So how can I run away with this game? Because you can almost guarantee, when I think of Josh Hader, I'm throwing out names like Mariano Rivera or even Trevor Hoffman. I mean, he's just nasty. You don't want to go up against him. I mean, you didn't want to go up against a Aroldis Chapman. You don't want to go up against a Josh Hader. So Houston Astros, I think, is a key team to keep an eye out to run this year. Second team is the New York Yankees, and that is because of the Juan Soto deal. I just don't know how much more powerful you can get your ball club. I think, with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, you got one of the most elite outfield trios that in a lineup, you scatter them out throughout the lineup. Is like, who are you going to pitch to, this season? So ball clubs are really going to struggle against the New York Yankees. And now that just all permits that, hey, listen, if you're an infield for right now for the Yankees, you're like, man, I want to bat behind, one of these guys, because if they walk him, that gives me an opportunity. Or maybe they get, they frantic and they don't pitch against me, leave something over the plate where I could get a hold of one, put it in the gap. So yeah, that's just for me. Then my last team in the American League has to be the Baltimore Orioles. And this one kind of came to me a little bit late a couple weeks ago when Milwaukee and Baltimore decided to do some trading. And Baltimore picked up Corbin Burns. Now, yeah, listen, Baltimore is only picking up Corbin Burns for 1 year. But Baltimore is also, they don't make a run consecutive years. Every few years, they look to be that team that surprises you and slide right into the wild card. And I think Corbin Burns could be an X factor with this young, growing roster, that they can be a dangerous team in American League. So I'm looking at the Houston Astros, the New York Yankees, and the Baltimore Orioles. Well, Justin, what about the National League? Got 3 teams right there for you there. I think the first 2 teams are common. I think you got to look out for the Dodgers. I mean, I know Shohei Ohtani's not going to showcase his pitching, but he's going to be, expecting to bat in that lineup as a DH throughout the course of the year. And hopefully by the end of the year, a very mass improvement if you could see him play some defense. Now, I don't think the Dodgers are going to be using him on the field as much. I think you DH him, right? But, this two-way player, this is what you bring him in for. And plus, that you didn't stop there. You add a couple extra pitchers. You tagged in, Teoscar Hernandez, and I'm like, dude, you're a dangerous ball club. They always have been. They always will be. I think they just made themselves much more dangerous with the additions they had. Only thing you're missing is Julio Rodriguez. Next team is the Atlanta Braves. I think there's just right now they're the elite team, and until this team is there for a long time. I don't think another team, they have among the, what brought them to the World Series. I think they could run it back again, and this team just got to stay healthy. Last but not least, succumbing to surprising, I put out the Cincinnati Reds as a team that is probably going to be a lookout for this season. Now, yeah, that's granted. They got still a lot to prove. They're such a young organization. They have more to prove for themselves, but they're also such a young organization that they got nothing to lose. If you think about this organization and you think about their starting lineup and rotation, other than your starting rotation, this is something we'll get into details on another episode. But who else do they have down in the minor leagues that can come up and take your job? I mean, this is the team that Nick Kroll and the Castellinis were talking about 2 years ago. These are all the guys that are finally making their way through, minus maybe, Brandon Williamson, right? These are all your guys that the Castellinis invested in the minor league system, that they traded guys like Jesse Winker. They let Jesse Winker go, Nick Castellanos. This is the reason why you're not bringing back Joey Votto. So, in a sense, is that they got nothing to lose, but they got everything to gain. And they came so close last year that, who says that they can't be dominant? They still have the opportunity. I really do believe that the NL Central will change. Something that we'll also get into throughout the course of spring training as we get ready for Major League Baseball. All right, so if I don't see you until after Elimination Chamber, we want to wish you the best of luck. Hopefully your predictions are correct. Let me know down in the comments. If we don't catch you until after spring training, then hey, let's go Reds. If not, we will be back here. Head on over to our webpage, www.tncsportstalkshow.com, and you could figure out when our next episodes are going to be. Other than that, be sure to drop a like, share, and subscribe if you guys are watching us. And until next time, you guys have a great afternoon, and thank you guys for watching.